Often when Buddhist monks meet for the first time, they will ask each other, how many rains do you have? That means, how long have you been in the robes? How long have you lived as a member of the Sangha? The Pali word for rains is Vassa or Vassana. It refers to the rainy season. This season in India and Southeast Asia, the monsoon season. And this word Vassa is Varsha in Sanskrit, which becomes Pansa in Thai or the Vas in Sri Lanka. It's used a lot, and there are many customs in connection with this entering of the Vassas, so-called entering of the Vassa, the rains retreat, as it's called. The original idea, original story, as we have it from the Vinaya books in the Pali Canon, it talks about the Buddhist monks traveling, wandering in India from place to place during the hot and cold seasons. But then during the wet, the rainy season, it became more difficult to live in this way, just going from place to place, sleeping under some rocks and caves and heaps of straw and in the forests in that way. And when it rains, the paths, the roads become very muddy, and also the small plants that are growing up, like rice plants and some other plants, the monks would trample them with their feet, and then the village people complained about it because some of the other ascetics during that time, the Jains, they wouldn't do that. They believed that living plants have some kind of life, and that one is injuring the plants, so the Buddhist monks would be criticized as well. But for practical reasons, it was obvious that during this time it was a good idea to settle down. And in the beginning of the Buddha Sasana, the Buddha's dispensation, there were no real monasteries as we know them today, but it gradually started in that way. The Buddha said, okay, monks, you should settle down for 3 months, either the first 3 months or the second 3 months of this rainy season, because the seasons in India, each of them takes 4 months, it lasts 4 months. And the Buddha said, monks, you should settle down, and either for that first one or for the second part of the rainy season. This is called entering the rains. Usually most of the monks will enter the first rains, which begins the day after the full moon in the month of Asalhi, and then it's called Asalha Puja. That's the full moon, usually in July these days. And the day after, the monks enter the Vassa, enter the rains retreat. Or if they decide to enter the second one, then that's a month later. There might be various reasons for not entering the first period of 3 months. Different obstacles, like the Buddha mentioned, say if there is insufficient food or requisites, medicines, all kinds of things that a monk needs for his existence, then it's appropriate to postpone entering the rains and wait until they find a better place, somewhere which has sufficient food, for example, or places to stay. And in the Vinaya it specifies certain types of say dwellings, buildings, senasana, which the monks should have. They shouldn't stay just under a rock or in the open under a tree. They need to have some kind of roof over the head, and a dwelling with a door that can be closed. So something pretty stable, and the reason for that is they should undertake certain activities during this period of 3 months which they wouldn't otherwise be engaging in so much. Because when one is traveling a lot, wandering, doing a lot of walking every day, kind of wandering around, spending more time perhaps with meditation, one cannot focus that much on, say, study. And that was a big, important thing during that time in India. You know, there were no books yet. All the teachings of the Buddha had to be memorized and then passed on from more knowledgeable monks to the new monks, passed on just orally by repetition. You know, one monk would recite and the other one would listen or maybe repeat after him. So that was the one big reason for settling down for 3 months. And then a group of monks, say, would gather in a monastery, in a vihara, where some more senior, experienced or knowledgeable monk was staying. And the Buddha praised this opportunity, using this opportunity for listening to new teachings that one hasn't heard yet, and learning them, acquiring them. That means remembering them. Or those which one has already heard in the past. Maybe one has misheard them or remembered them incorrectly, and there is some confusion in one's mind, so one has the chance to ask those knowledgeable monks, what is the meaning of this passage or that passage, and they will clarify that for him, and he can improve his understanding. And then there's also the opportunity for discussion, because discussion is another important aspect which helps to clarify the meaning of Dhamma. If we only remember something and maybe interpret it from our own point of view, our own perspective, we may easily sort of get off on the wrong track. But in discussion and this kind of exchange with others, we can also clarify the meaning of some passages of the Dhamma. Or one can, of course, during this time also undertake some intensive meditation practice and get advice from some experienced monk that one is living with. So all these activities can be engaged in, and then after the end of this rainy season, there are certain other events that take place. The Parana Ceremony or invitation, during which all members of the Sangha, instead of reciting the Patimokkha as usual on the full moon, they will postpone that. They will not do the whole Patimokkha recitation, all the rules that the monks have to keep, but instead they will invite one another to point out anything that they might have done during the previous 3 months, any kind of transgressions of the precepts or inappropriate behavior or inconsiderate behavior that they might have done towards the others. So it's like asking for feedback, and that's a very healthy thing to do in the community. One doesn't do that regularly, then there will be tensions and problems. So the Buddha made that very clear. Okay, after the 3 months of living together, you should ask for feedback, and then the group of monks can disband and they may go their separate ways.